we feeling? Thanksgiving week, feeling good. My name's Evan Semanco. I'm the online pastor. Justin and Angie are visiting. Their son Ian got early Thanksgiving. So you got me today, and that's gonna be a good time, I promise. We're gonna do it a couple times. We've been through. This is gonna be the best one. The room keeps getting better, right? 11 o'clock, we're awake, we're ready? There we go, all right, very good. Well, I wanna take you back down memory lane. 20 years ago, in 2004, what were you doing? Think about it, 20 years ago, 2004, doesn't seem that long ago to me. I was a junior in high school, and this handsome devil was the new airline Escalada reporter, was a journalist. Yeah, look at that guy. Everybody wanted sports, was the most popular. They got to go do all the dances and everything else, so nobody signed up for politics, and I became the political reporter for the airline Escalada. Not a lot of politics that year, not a lot of things that were really something I was interested in, per se. It was an election year. George W. Bush was running against, anybody remember? Crickets, right? Some of you weren't even alive, so that's okay. John Kerry, famously they called him a flip-flopper. He loses re-election, but the highlight of that entire election season was this guy. You might remember, if you've been around long enough, and when I went to look him up, it made me very happy that there are not one, but two different documentaries about this political moment that they think invented the internet political meme. See if you remember. Watch.
Former Vermont Governor Howard Dean was a frontrunner for the Democratic nomination when he rolled into the Iowa caucuses 15 years ago. And in a shock to both his supporters and his campaign, he came in third, behind eventual nominee John Kerry and John Edwards, who came in second. In his concession speech, Dean let forth a scream that became more than the butt of late-night jokes and the epitaph for his failed presidential campaign. It might have been the first ever political meme long before anyone had even ever heard of the term.
We're going to Washington, D.C. to take back the White House!
Yeah! If you don't think we were going around Airline High School doing that obnoxiously over and over again, you would be wrong. So that was wild. That ruined his campaign. This man, this accomplished governor, did not become president, did not even get his party's nomination because he did that. In 2024, it seems kind of tame, right? Not that wild? Maybe it's just me. But as we get ready this week, as we're talking about politics, I'm not really a political person. It's not something that I am super into. I follow current events. I like to know what's going on. But Justin, when he told me a couple weeks ago, said, you get to wrap up the In God We Trust series. Like, awesome. Thanks, Justin. Right? You've been here the last couple weeks. Justin has really done an incredible job. Go back and listen if you've missed them. As you're getting ready, this political season, the election's over, all this stuff's happening in the world. Here's what I really want to know. How are you feeling about Thanksgiving this week? Right? It's coming. Everybody's coming. You got it going. It's happening this week. It's Thanksgiving. It's hard to believe. And who is that person you are dreading seeing? Can you picture them in your mind? Are they sitting next to you today? They came in town early? Right? Don't hit them. Don't point at them. There's somebody, though, in your family you know that you disagree with, that makes things awkward, that can be difficult. Maybe your family's perfect. You've got all great figured out. Good for you. That's awesome. For the rest of us, it can be a tense time. It can be stressful. And so as we go through today, I'm not going to really try to change your mind about anything political. I really don't even, I care. But at the same time, it's really not what this is about, right? Some of you really, really care about who was elected president and all these different things. And I hope today that as you're here, thanks for coming, we help put it in a little bit different context, because this is the real question I want to ask today. What is the faith of the next generation worth? What is the faith of the next generation worth to you? So we talk about generations. It's not an exact science. I'm a kind of a data person. I like to see the numbers, and I really like graphs. So if you hate graphs, just zone out for about 5 minutes. But I like to visualize. I like to see these things. Here's the first one. Generations, when you talk about generations, are by when you're born. There's certain things that happen that group people together, like the Great Depression for the silent generation, baby boomers post-World War II. They kind of look, and sociologists study these things, and they say, okay, these are very common ties. Not everybody's all the same in those, but for the most part, they grew up with the same experiences. They've got these different things that group together. So Gen X is the older generation than me. Most of our staff is Gen X. I'm a millennial. There they call it Gen Y sometimes. Was born in the late 80s, early 90s, or late 80s, yeah, there. And then Gen Z is the group behind me. I was the youth pastor here for a long time. I've worked with a ton of incredible Gen Z teenagers. I'm so glad to have known so many of them. And some of them are getting old enough now to get married and have jobs, and it's wild to me. And then Alpha, Gen Alpha is my kid, so this kid's born here. And then Gen Beta, they don't even know the name yet of what it's gonna be. They'll predict it's gonna start roughly around 2026. So why does this matter? Any of you that work, how many of you have had to work with somebody in a different generation? There you go, right? So here's the workforce. Again, I like a graph, visualize it. Millennials just became the largest segment of the workforce. And when I was growing up, it was all the things millennials are doing to change things. And oh my gosh, I can't believe millennials. And they're going to do this and use the internet and all this stuff. And we're affecting the boomers. Now, boomers are still around. Boomers, unfortunately, are working older and longer than ever. They don't get to retire because financial reasons. So boomers, you are still in the workplace. And Gen X, the group in their 40s and 50s, you're still there. But then you see that little 5% Gen Z, it's starting to become bigger and bigger. And they're entering the workforce and getting to the age where there's sometimes tension, right? If you know somebody that's Gen Z, that's a teenager, early 20s, you probably have some strong opinions about them. You might have said some things to people about them. And this is what's interesting to me and what I like to see, and people smarter than me do this research. Gen Z is actually the least religious generation in American history. So as a Christian and as a pastor, this is what I care about way more as we're trying to figure out these nationwide trends, these US trends. It's actually not true in the world, which is good news because God is bigger than the United States. But that's a whole other preacher message for another day. This is Gen Z right now in America. They're saying that they are not Christians at a higher rate than anybody in the history of America. But it's not just Gen Z. Overall, the entire country is choosing none as their religious affiliation. It's the rise of the nuns, not the N-U-Ns, right? This is none, N-O-N-E, that they have no religious affiliation. It's not like they're becoming Buddhist or Muslim. They're just not religious. They're not believing in anything. And this is a big deal. You're in church, you're here today, maybe somebody forced you to come, maybe you found us and you're new, you're checking it out. Thank you for watching online. If it is your first time here, it means the world to us. You would give us a try. We want to be a different kind of church, and there's the big church, right? The overall American church, and then our church, Simple Church, is one part of that bigger church. But the trends overall say that less people are going to church than ever. Here's another one more chart, and we're done. Well, actually two more, I lied. But this one, weekly church attendance, declining for all ages and all generations across the board. You're here today, you made it, give yourself a pat on the back. Thanks for coming, thanks for watching online. It still counts, you're here, thanks for watching. I'm the online pastor, I'm a little biased. But it's a big deal that you chose to give a part of your time. If you're watching with your family, out of town, traveling, whatever it is, thank you for being a part of Simple Church. And at Simple Church, thankfully, what I'm so encouraged by is we are going against the trends that you see nationwide. Simple Church has a database. It's called Fellowship One. We keep up with if you fill out and check in your kid. It's a communication card. You let us know, pray for you. You join a life group. We store that data. We don't do anything weird. We're not going to show up at your house. We're not selling it. But it's a database that we collect to know people who've been in Simple Church. Our records right now have 30,913 different people who have given us a piece of information. Since we started in 2007, that's not near everybody who's walked in the doors and has visited Simple Church. That's somebody that stopped being anonymous, that said, hey, I would like to talk to somebody. I'm going to give you my information to check my kids in, to do these different things. 30,000 people. And what's really, really cool and encouraging to me, this is the last graph, is I made this pie graph because Simple Church is actually the majority under the Gen X generation. Gen Z, Alphas, they're the majority of the church. That is against the trend nationwide. The average church in America is 65 people, one service, they baptize one person a year, and the average age is 55 and up. Think about that. That's thousands and thousands of churches across America. And we're not perfect. We don't have it all the right way. We're one way to do church. But what I'm so thankful is that Justin started a different kind of church in 2007. I joined in 2008 as the youth pastor. I've been here for this wild ride of Simple Church. We're here in this incredible space in this building to do things we've never been able to do before because of all of you that have generously given and volunteered. It means the world to us. But the next generation is still at stake. Yes, we're younger. Yes, we have the chance to influence more, but we still have to try to reach this next generation that's leaving the church. And sometimes you hear stuff in the media talking bad about Gen Z, right? You've seen these things. I'm sure nobody's ever said anything bad in this room. None of you have ever dunked on Gen Z and these next generation kids. But here's a quote I found, a little bit of bias here. They have trouble making decisions. They would rather hike the Himalayas than climb a corporate ladder. They have few heroes, no anthems, no style to call their own. They crave entertainment, but their attention span is as short as one zap of the TV dial. Oops, actually, that's a typo, I'm sorry. That was Time Magazine in 1990 talking about Gen X. Any Gen Xers in the room, 40s and 50s? They were mad at you too, so welcome, join the club, right? So here's one about Gen Z. This is really the next generation here. The youth are, quote, a race of effeminate, self-admiring, emaciated fribbles. Again, that's actually not true. That's from 1771, a magazine called Town and Country Magazine. I'm sure you all subscribe. I don't know what generation they were mad at, but they were really mad in 1771. What were they doing to be effeminate? I hope that makes you laugh a little because every generation before you probably talked bad about you too. And the things and problems you have with Gen Z now, like this one from medium.com, Gen Z is narcissistic, irritatingly entitled, uncommitted in their attitudes to their jobs. Or how about this one? If you're a business owner, you hire people, you've had to hire Gen Z people. 68% of small business owners said Gen Zers were the least reliable of all their employees, and 71%, the overwhelming majority, said young workers were the most likely to have a workplace mental health issue. So, you're not getting any younger. Gen Z is on the rise. As we talk about this and as we go through these things, I'm passionate about this because as the generations ahead of them, as someone who's raising kids, when people complain about kids these days, they're losing a chance to influence and make them better. What is the faith of the next generation worth to you? So let's turn to the Bible now. No more graphs. Thousands of years ago, this was a letter written to a church. I use the Message translation because it's easy to understand. If you've never really read the Bible, you've tried to understand what it says, you have like an old King James version at home, please download the free Bible app, any device, try the Message out, get a copy of it if you like physical paper. It's a paraphrase, but it's written in a way to help us understand right now, today. And here's the verses in Galatians. See if you understand this, if it's clear enough. It is absolutely clear that God has called you to a free life. This was the time of Roman persecution. They were conquered by another country. Justin hit on it before last couple weeks. This was not a time where they had a lot of freedom, not like we are today in America. Just make sure that you don't use this freedom as an excuse to do whatever you want to and destroy your freedom. Rather, use your freedom to serve one another in love. That's how freedom grows. For everything we know about God's word is summed up in a single sentence: love others as you love yourself. That is an act of true freedom. If you bite and ravage each other, watch out. In no time at all, you will be annihilating each other, and where will your precious freedoms be then? Does this sound like the last couple months of political season? Biting and annihilating each other? Yeah, maybe some of you, maybe not. What are you choosing to use the freedom that you have, your God-given freedom and your right as an American citizen, if you are one, what are you using that freedom for? Because the Bill of Rights guarantees our freedom of speech, but all of us, I do, you do, have a personal responsibility to use our rights in the right way. And if you're not a Christian, if you're here, you found this church, somebody brought you, thank you for coming. You've got questions, you're not sure about the whole God thing. It means so much to us that you are willing to try it, to come and visit, to check it out, to step in a church again or watch online. But if you are a Christian, we're responsible for that. We have that. And in the last couple weeks, post-election, I'm sure if you're online, you've seen different people have opinions. This is a guy named Aussie Dave. He's from Australia. His name's Dave, right? Very creative. He's a pastor, and he's really an innovator on the online church front. He's done some really great stuff. I love the things that he posts. And this is what he said: I'm glad my friendship circle is wide enough that today I have some friends raising glasses and others that need hugs. Iron can't sharpen iron in an echo chamber. So I pulled some real pictures of people that I am friends with, acquaintances with, I follow online. I'm the online pastor. I check these kinds of things. Most of you, if you follow Simple Church, I see stuff you're posting. I'm the one that kind of checks it. And here's some real examples of different perspectives post-election. So we're just gonna go through these. The Michael Scott one was somebody that was more conservative, talking about people that unfollowed him because of the memes and stuff they were posting, gloating after they won. The next one is somebody who I know has deconstructed their faith. When you say Jesus is still king, they said, shut up, shut up, shut up. They're tired of hearing it. The other side, people will call you names and Trump if you support him. Our kids will know that we didn't back down, we stood for truth and freedom. And then the other side of it is a list of things that our president's done. Neil deGrasse Tyson, whatever you think about him, somebody reposted a quote of his, but then my favorite one at the end there is all the people with their liberal tears. That'll show them. And these are the things you and me and people we know are posting. And if you're a Christian, we're held to a higher responsibility of thinking how we say stuff, including online. But you don't understand, Evan. This is the most important election in the history of America. Everything's on the line. Our kids are going to ruin the country. Put you back to 1800 real quick. None of us were alive. I know that for sure. Thomas Jefferson against John Adams. I was a history major for a year. I really enjoy history. 1800, the third election we ever had. The first two were George Washington. The third election, you know what the headlines were in the paper? It's the most important election in American history. Everything's on the line. John Adams is going to ruin the country. Thomas Jefferson's crazy. And for hundreds of years now, people who get paid a lot of money, by the way, if you want to make yourself sick, go look up the people who make political ads and how much money they made this year. They spend a lot of time and energy and money to convince you that this is the most important thing in the world. And whatever the cost, whatever it takes, we have to win, and who cares what happens on the way? And then we're all still here. We're all still post-election now, dealing with the fallout. And Ian Simpkins, another pastor I follow, put it this way. Christians treat the internet like it's Las Vegas. What happens on the internet does not stay on the internet. Some of you are sitting in a room with people who are super great people who said really offensive things this political season about people like you, and you're upset, and you see them walking in, and you know what they posted online. Some of you laugh with your buddies because they all unfollowed you, they're so bad, and blah, 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 blah. And they're people that God loves that are trying to get to church, that look at you differently because of the things you post online. Justin hit on this verse a couple weeks ago, John 13:35. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another and vote Republican. That part didn't make it in there? No? Okay, if you love everybody and vote Democrat, you will know that they're a Christian, because there's no way somebody could be a Republican and vote Christian. Now, you see what they did? You see what they said? No. And some of you don't know anybody who disagrees with you. And it's easy to sum up a group that you don't know that have different perspectives and write them off. Ed Newton, another pastor, says it this way: don't let people that you don't know divide you from the people you do know. After each service today, somebody's come up and said, I needed that today. Thank you. I haven't talked to my sister in 3 years. I haven't seen my brother in 4 or 5 years. We can't even be in the same room. They skipped a funeral because we were going to be in the same room together because we got mad, and she's liberal and I'm Republican. I'm conservative. Think about that. What are we doing? If you're under 35, you've probably never heard of these guys. Maybe you have, we'll give you credit. Actually, we found out some of our volunteers went and saw their live show last week. Good Mythical Morning is the show. The guys are named Rhett and Link. They're online personalities, comedians. You might not have heard of them, but they have 35 million subscribers on YouTube, have seen 9.8 billion with a B views, doing stupid stuff like making masks out of dolls and eating weird stuff. Yeah, there's a couple of them. And if you're an older generation, you probably don't get it. This isn't your humor. That's fine. But they have an influence and a following, and they're saying things to your kids or grandkids, and your kids or grandkids spend hours a week with them. And this is who they're hearing from, and it's influencing the way they think and the way that they talk. And they actually were both youth pastors. They worked in a church. They grew up in the church. They worked for an organization called Campus Crusades for Christ. But in 2020, they came out with a series of podcasts where they talked about why they were no longer Christians. It's a term called deconstructing, where they're leaving their faith. They had questions they just couldn't answer. And they spent hours unpacking and talking about these things in a really well-done way. And as a pastor and as a Christian, I wish I could have spoke back to some of those things and talked to them. And they had people in their life that were trying to help them walk through that. But this is what I want you to hear. I can't believe they did that, or my kids would never, or my kids aren't asking those kinds of questions. Maybe. As a youth pastor, I talked to a lot of students who had doubts, and it's okay to have doubts. But what Rhett said in one of these videos, I summed it up. It's like an hour and a half. If you want to listen to the whole thing, go check it out because it's fascinating. But this one segment, I think sums up a big part of the problem with the American church overall today. Watch.
Your kids are not leaving the church because you didn't train them enough. Your kids are leaving the church because you train them well enough to develop a sense for truth and justice. You let them read the words of Jesus. And they got it. And they've recognized that the church doesn't seem to be interested in those words. They're not leaving because they don't know the truth. They're leaving because they do. And this isn't even necessarily something that they would articulate. This is something that is happening on a soul level. If you want your kids to stay in the church, you don't need to change your kids. You need to change your church. If your kids can't find Jesus, the Jesus that they know from the Bible, the Jesus that you've taught them about, if they can't find him within the walls of your church, you know what? They will go looking for him elsewhere. And that may not be what they say they're doing. That may not be how they articulate it. It may not be how they describe it, but I believe that that's what's happening. A lot of people assume that we left the church because there was something out there, something outside of the church, whether that be fame, fortune, cultural acceptance, whatever, that we ultimately wanted more than Jesus, right? Like we fell to the temptation and we went after that thing instead of Jesus. And you also think that your kids might want something out there, something outside of the church more than they want Jesus. I think it might be simpler than that. I think maybe your kids who left the church just wanted Jesus and they saw that you wanted something else.
If you put that last quote up on the screen, he said, I think maybe your kids who left the church just wanted Jesus and they saw that you wanted something else. Justin started Simple Church in 2007 to be a different kind of church, to do church different, to make it not about us, to serve, to do something else. We started with the phrase, love God, love people, but then actually about 7 or 8 years ago now, he added solve problems. I think that's such a brilliant decision. That a lot of churches say they love God and love people, but we want to be known by the problems that we solve. Can we solve every problem? No. But can we do something for somebody? Absolutely. Because what is the faith of the next generation worth? What is this group of people leaving the church that wish we were more like Jesus in the way that we talk and how we act and how we post stuff online? What if we were a church like that? It's worth everything, because this incredible building that so many of you generously gave and helped to get us here is going to be empty and dead in 30, 40, 50 years if nobody comes behind you. We're going to go to 1 Peter. Justin pulled one verse of this, and again, this is the message. So let me know if you can't figure this out, if this isn't clear enough for you. I'll help you afterwards. But I think it's pretty clear when you put it in words that we can understand. Be agreeable, be sympathetic, be loving, be compassionate, and be humble. And that goes for all of you, no exceptions. But you don't know my brother, and he's going to be at Thanksgiving. I just can't. No exceptions. You don't know my parents. Oh my gosh, I have to go deal with my parents. And they're. If you're a Christian, there's no exceptions. No retaliation, no sharp-tongued sarcasm. Some of you think that's your spiritual gift, right? Some of you have things written in your phone or a handwritten notebook that you're ready to counter what that person's gonna say this Thanksgiving. You can't wait to work on this material, and you've got this stuff online, and you're ready to just go and roast them. Instead, bless. That's your job, to bless. You'll be a blessing and also get a blessing. Whoever wants to embrace life and see the day fill up with good. Does anybody want their days to fill up with good? I do. Whoever wants to embrace life, see the day fill up with good, here's what you do. Say nothing evil or hurtful, even if it's funny, even if they deserve it, even if you're right. Snub evil, cultivate good, run after peace for all you're worth. God looks on all of this with approval, listening and responding well to what he's asked. But he turns his back on people who do evil things. If with heart and soul you're doing good, why does Simple Church always talk about doing good? Why do we have the Do Good store? Why do we keep asking you to do more good? Because it's what God wants us to do. We didn't make it up. We're not doing it to be clever. We're not social justice warriors. We're trying to follow Jesus and what he actually said. if your soul, you're doing good, do you think you can be stopped? Even if you suffer for it, you're still better off. Don't give the opposition a second thought. Through thick and thin, keep your hearts at attention in adoration before Christ your master. Be ready to speak up and tell anyone who asks why you're living the way you are, and always with the utmost courtesy. What if this Thanksgiving, you're getting ready to leave? I want you to visually imagine who you're gonna be with, the people you're gonna be around at this table. If you're seeing somebody, if you have family, what a gift. They might not feel like a gift sometimes, but there are a lot of people I know who are alone on Thanksgiving. So if you have family, I want you to visually picture the end of Thanksgiving. Everybody's done, you're getting ready to walk out the door. What if one of your family members comes to you and says, hey, can I talk to you for a second? I noticed this year, you were a lot less of a jerk. What changed? Why are you acting like that? What happened? You were nice to them. They didn't deserve it. They were ripping into you. Why are you doing that? Why are you acting like that? What if that's the chance for you to share Jesus with that family member who desperately is looking for someone to be Christ-like at your family Thanksgiving? It's not rocket science. It's just being kind, biting your tongue, being like Christ. Keep a clear conscience before God so that when people throw mud at you, none of it will stick. They'll end up realizing that they're the ones who need a bath. It's better to suffer for doing good, if that's what God wants, than to be punished for doing bad. As we go into this week, don't sacrifice relationships for politics, for people that don't care about you. Psalms 34 says it this way: turn away from evil and do good, seek peace and pursue it. What I love about that is it's active, it takes work, it's not natural. We asked you a couple weeks ago to do Little Debbie's and pass them out and deliver them to some people. Some of you are like, oh yeah, I forgot to do that. Or I just ate them and kept them at my house. Be honest. You know who you are. We got some boxes. My oldest kids, Nora and Eliza, are 9 and 6. There's a picture of them writing their notes. And then Nora found out there were 2 other teachers who she wanted to encourage. And she's like, can we get some more Little Debbie's? And I said, no. It's like, we already went to the store. I don't want to get dressed again. I'm sorry. We're not going to go buy another one. Mallory, my wife's better half, hits me. And it's like, come on, Mom. I'm like, all right. And one of her teacher's brothers had died. And Nora shows up with a note and a box of Little Debbie's and comes home and is so excited to tell us. And I almost robbed her of that blessing because I'm too lazy to get up and go to the store. Come on. Doing good is contagious. Your kids and your grandkids want to do the right thing. They want to do good, but you have to lead them. At Simple Church, we try to make it to where we encourage you and inspire you to do good, to get these ideas, and here's a couple ways you can do that as we wrap up, coming up in the holiday season. Right now, there's a group of people walking 118 miles to raise money for clean water projects in Honduras. 2 people sat in a service just like this, watched a video about clean water, and instead of saying, well, sucks for them, let's go to lunch, they got excited and decided they wanted to do something and found ways to raise money. And now, 6 years later, they've raised hundreds of thousands of dollars to change people's lives in Honduras forever. The average woman in Honduras walks 118 miles every month getting water, taking it back and forth, that they can't work, they can't spend time with their families, they can't do other things because they don't have plumbing. And now, this group has grown from 2 incredible women there's dozens of people walking today. They're gonna finish tonight right here at our space at the boardwalk. And you can sign up and for a $25 donation, walk the mile with them. If you wanna bring your kids, your grandkids, you wanna come and do something and say, hey, we're gonna help support this cause and talk about how great it is and how blessed we are to have clean water that most of us never think twice about. You don't think that's gonna make an impact on your kids and your grandkids? And if you don't think it's affecting the kids of the people walking, here's a video of the Arnett kids. Brandy's one of the walkers, talking about how they got inspired and want to help their mom, and now they're talking about helping do good. Watch.
Hi, Simple Church. This week, we need to collect change for Honduras water wells.
My mom and her friends are walking 118 miles to raise money for water wells and get better equipment to help them make those water wells.
So today, bring your change and we'll change the world. After the service, come meet us outside. Because if you don't like change, we do, and we'll use it to change the world.
And they really think they can change the world, and they can. They're not bitter and cynical like you and me yet. And just for the record, drop your change off. They also accept dollar bills or checks. Go by, see those cute kids, do some good if you have some change to spare. If you want to hear more about the story of the water wells, I do a podcast every week called Backstage with the Simple Church. And we want to highlight stories like theirs because you want to know there's people doing good in the world, to hear good things about Gen Z for once. Another way to do that, next Sunday, Bags of Blessings. Talk to these incredible women on the podcast as well. Next Sunday, we're asking you to stay a few minutes after church, don't rush out for lunch, make a $10 donation and fill a bag with toiletry items for women in prison. The message next week is going to tell you more about it. You can check out the podcast. But it's an incredible opportunity for people that Jesus literally tells us to take care of, the people in prison that most of us don't ever want to deal with or think about. And these two women that started this, their dad was in prison for murdering their mom. The most horrific thing you can imagine. And they have used that, and God has used them to now minister to hundreds and hundreds of people in prison and tell them about Jesus and that their story isn't done yet. Next Sunday, fill a bag, check it out. We're doing Christmas at the movies. Simple Church always does these elaborate things. I wish they would just not go and make all that money and time to go make movie sets and take pictures, and all this generation just take less pictures. We're not doing it for us. We're doing it for the person that you know that hasn't been to church in a while or doesn't come or needs something fun to do with their family that they can afford to do in this economy. And we have great people that love doing it and making a fun environment for you to invite someone. That starts next Sunday, Christmas at the movies. We'll have movie sets. You can see Santa. We'll have fun things that you can do at church. And the kids ministry is also creating an experience just for you. If you have kids, grandkids, Christy Aguiar, our children's pastor, is going to tell you more about the family experience night on December 15th. Watch.
My name is Christy, and I'm the children's pastor, and I'm excited to invite you to our first Jingle Jam on Sunday, December 15th at 5 p.m. upstairs in the main room. Jingle Jam is a family experience for kids, parents, and grandparents to attend church together and make some Christmas memories. The night will be full of laughs, games, prizes, and there'll be special appearances by your kids' favorite Simple Kids leaders and our staff. We'll also have great music from the Simple Church Band and some of our kids, and this will sure to get you in the Christmas spirit. Come ready to have a good time and plan to stay for the Jingle Jam after party with Santa Claus. Our Christmas sets will be available for you to take great family pictures. Plus, we'll have some hot chocolate and cookies, and you can pre-buy pizza and drinks to enjoy at the after party. Sign up on our Simple Church app or our website. Jingle Jam is the chance for you to spend time with the next generation and start creating memories with your kids that'll last a lifetime.
But it's a Sunday night. I have to come back to church on a Sunday night. Oh my, it's gonna be dark. I hate driving in the dark. And then it's so loud. They do all those crazy characters and skit. I don't think we're gonna do that. Don't miss the chance to influence the next generation because we're selfish and we're tired. Because I feel that and I can be there too. Jingle Jam at the after party. You can take your pictures of Santa. They're gonna order pizza. You can find out more on our app. Middle school and high school students, 6th through 12th grade, they have services every Sunday over at the Gap. And they're gonna do a Christmas party over at Hirsch Coliseum. You get to ice skate for $5. They're gonna play broom ball on the ice. They're gonna have pizza, hang out. They do a great job. Josh and Jonah, if you've never been a part of student ministry, your kids don't check it out, go give it a try. That also gets them a ticket to come back for a Mudbugs hockey game so you can go to the hockey game together. Something fun as a family and support local sports. All of these things aren't the most important thing in the world, but they add up over time because your kids and grandkids aren't going to remember who you voted for. They're not going to remember how you felt politically, but they're going to remember how you made them feel and how you spent time with them. And what is the faith of the next generation worth? Everything. So next week when there's photo sets downstairs and you can't watch the service downstairs, I know it's inconvenient. I know it's tough. I'm sorry you have to come upstairs. But it's for the person that we're trying to reach, or it's for your friends, for the visitors who are going to come. As we go into Thanksgiving, I'm going to pray for us and we'll close. Don't be so right, or don't believe you're so right that you're going to wrong the people you love this week. Let's pray. God, I thank you so much that you loved us first. And because you loved us, you sent your son Jesus to die on the cross for us. We can love other people, even when they're difficult, even when they don't agree with us, even when they get under our skin. God, being a Christian, we're called to be like you. And for every Christian in this room, every Christian listening online, I pray that we would go and be a blessing to our families and friends this week. If anyone here is not a Christian, has never made that decision, has walked away from faith or what they grew up with, God, I pray you would pull them back to you. That they would see there is a different kind of church, God, that we're not all the same. And we're trying to follow you, Jesus. We're not perfect. We don't have it all together. But I pray that they would choose to continue to be a part of the Simple Church and that we can continue to be more like you each and every week. We love you. Amen. Thank you for coming. There's an announcement about stuff coming up. Thanks for watching online. Have a great week. Peace.